Hello everybody, it is me, Sacred G. Welcome back to another video. Hope you all are doing very well. Today is the fucking day we talk about Fallout 4. I'm going to be spoiler free. I am not going to spoil any major plot elements. I might, of course, spoil some gameplay mechanics and stuff like that, so with that said, you've been warned if you don't want the entire game spoiled to you. I'm not gonna spoil any major plot elements, so let's get into it. So the first thing I do want to talk about is the story. So I'm gonna kind of give a brief summary. You're a pre-war veteran or a law school graduate. You can play as either a man or a woman who are both married to the gender you could play as in the game. You're living your pre-war life and things happen, then you go to the vault, your son gets taken from you. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, I kind of ended up spoiling a little bit, but however, that is all I'm gonna say in regards to the main story. How I felt about the main story, I was thinking about this last night. I like the main story, but I think it's the weakest main part of the game, at least to me. Alright, I personally thought that the main story was kind of the weakest part of the game. I don't think it's bad by any means. Honestly, I've never, throughout the time I've played Fallout 4, I have never been interested in the main story. Now, if I'm playing as a character that simply does give a shit, or it makes sense for that character to go and try to find the child, your son, then okay, that's fine. And, the story's serviceable. I'm mixed about it. I don't think it's the best story writing, even though I'm a huge fan of this game. I just think, there's some things they could have done differently, because honestly, if you played Fallout 3, this is going to be no different than, you going out and looking for your father, and instead, the roles are reversed. And I'm not saying the story is the same. I'm just saying there are some elements that Fallout 3 used, that Fallout 4 ended up using, but flipping the script on it. I don't know. I'm just kind of mixed about it. I don't think it's bad by any means. Not a big fan of the main story. Now, you have the world, or the story, so what about the gameplay? I think the gameplay is fine. I actually enjoy quite a bit. You can modify weapons, you can modify melee weapons, you can modify guns. You can customize quite a lot of things in the game. Right, like, one of the biggest gameplay loops you'll end up noticing is exploration, sometimes decision-making, and, that's all fine and dandy, right, because the best part of the gameplay is that the junk you see in the game, like all the garbage, like the old cameras that you can't even use anymore, that actually has use. Now, a lot of people will say, well, it's because it's crafting materials, but actually, there's a weapon you could get called the junk jet, and junk doesn't just have to be used for crafting. You could actually just end up using it for ammunition if you wanted to, and also the shooting's pretty phenomenal. Previous games weren't really known for that. I do think New Vegas is actually, the shooting in that game was not as bad as people were saying, but Fallout 4, took it a step up with the help of id Software, so the shooting's going to be good. The melee the melee play is going to work pretty well too. It's actually satisfying. For the most part, I think you'll enjoy yourself. You'll get lost, if this is your type of game, exploring and doing all these things, getting sucked into the gameplay loop, oh look, I have a quest over here, but what's that on my map showing up? I gotta go check that out. It's a core theme with most of Bethesda's games to get out and explore the world that they made for your own leisure. And yeah, the gameplay's fine. I don't have a problem with it. So, let's move on to the next point. Now for the world itself. Now, honestly, this is where our opinions may divide. I personally love exploring the Commonwealth every time I get sucked into this game, or back into the Commonwealth. I honestly love it. It feels very lived in. It feels that things are happening, that people live here, creatures live here. Like just the other day, right? I stumbled upon a Deathclaw getting into a fight with some other monsters. I can't remember specifically which mutated creatures that this thing was fighting. It was the fact that I stumbled upon the Deathclaw having enemy types that they even fight themselves besides you. I found that awesome, and it made it feel, or made the world feel very lived in, if that makes sense. It made it feel that things are happening, people have lives here, creatures have lives here. It was pretty awesome. The world is just an amazing place, at least in my opinion, to explore, and I would recommend taking the time to explore the world. There's a lot of times where, you know, you'll see this location pop up on your compass, and you're like, well, you know, I should go find my son, but for right now, we'll just fuck off, Sean, for just a little bit, right? Just a little bit. And, you know, that's one of the many great things about this game. And Skyrim as well, but this game in particular is that, you know, it encourages you to explore. So I do love the world. I think it's great, in my own opinion. Now let's talk about companions. So there are a total of blank companions. I'm not going to actually spoil that for you, but there are companions you can meet in the game that you can have travel with you. Now the best part about Fallout 4's companions is that you actually can piss them off enough they won't actually travel with you anymore. You can get them to like you enough that they will fuck you, literally, or impliedly, I guess. Anywho, the companions in this game are pretty neat. I'm not gonna lie. I love the fact that, you know, your actions actually do speak for how the companion feels about you, whether that be negative or positive. I love that because it makes the companion that you're traveling with feel and act like their own person, rather than just being subservient and listening and following orders accordingly without having any pushback or negative feelings or positive feelings towards the thing you're doing. There are companions that like it when you steal things. There are companions that like it when you know, help out people in the world. There are companions that like it when you get into a suit of fucking power armor, and when you lockpick or pick locks and stuff. You know, there's a wide array of companions to also help flesh out your character as well, and it's awesome in my opinion. I love that aspect. I like an RPG where I can sink my teeth into developing relationships for the character or characters that I have made in this world. And because without that, to me, like, you know, Skyrim suffered with that. Fallout 3 did, from what I remember and from what I played of it. And, you know, it's awesome. It's awesome. Give them a try. All the companions are unique in their own way. They even give you a special perk once you reach max affinity and become their closest friend or their lover. So, anywho, let's move on to the next one. Now, there are a wide array of weapons. However, there is not very many different types of weapons. Okay, don't get me wrong. I am not saying, you know, well, legendaries are all the same. They're different. The legendary system is finding pretty much, or Bethesda's new system, where you can find unique weapons or armor pieces and stuff like that. They all function in their own respectable ways. What I mean is, there are no different weapon model types. Okay, you will run into the same modeled weapon throughout your adventures in the Wasteland. For me personally, that grew on me. It is annoying, and especially if you're coming from New Vegas and you haven't played 4 yet, there's a lot of weapons that are the same model. But the fact you can, like, customize them to your heart's content is pretty awesome. Like, that's the only complaint I really have towards weapons, is that there's not a very wide variety of different types of weapons. Like, you'll run into combat rifles a lot. Like, the Gunners faction in the game will use combat rifles and laser rifles and stuff like that. You'll just run into the same weapon models, which, you know, whatever. I mean, some of them are modified for that particular character that had it, that you killed the character to get it from. and everything in between. You know, there's unique weapons that do different things, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the models, man. The models of the weapons, they need to change that. They added some new weapons too, like the junk jet and stuff like that, which is awesome, which is a weapon I do recommend checking out if you want to have a wacky playthrough. I just wish they added more weapons. The next thing I want to talk about is the settlement system. I don't use the system that often, but from what I have used of it, it's pretty fun, you know, but the problem is with this is that there are some settlement building locations because, you know, with the system, there's only certain few locations you can actually build in. It's not like you can just go out like in 76 or Minecraft and just build wherever the hell you see fit. That'd be cool if that was the case in Fallout 4, but that is not the case. But there are some marked in particular locations that don't work really well. A lot of the stuff is uneven, which is unfortunate. It's a fun system. And I guess to combat that, use items that actually fit in that location. There's a variable different sizes of items you can build with and stuff like that. So I guess if anything, combat it against that. But yes, you could build your own settlements and set up cities essentially in this game, and it's pretty cool, actually. There are even perks in the game for that very thing. So, let's move on. Now the big, important question. Can you roleplay in this game? One of the things that this game gets chassied for is not being a quote-unquote proper RPG. Alright, this is the last time I'm even gonna complain about this. I've already made a whole video several months ago talking about this. And yes, you can. If you watch videos or read Reddit threads online about the game, if it's any good, or can you roleplay or anything like that, a lot of the time you'll come across posts or videos that say Fallout 4 is the worst RPG or worst Fallout game. You can roleplay in this game. Okay, yes, you are pre-war and everything else, and I understand the complaint there, you know. I get why people preferred New Vegas, because, you know, New Vegas had nothing but you're just a courier, right? But the same thing kind of applies here. I mean, your occupation for the male character, or the male player character, is that he was in the army, and the female player character went to law school. That doesn't mean that's a defined backstory. Okay, you know, because in these games, you can create a backstory that fits into the narrative for the game, and whatever one that may be. Fallout 3, New Vegas 4, and even the first two games. And the thing with this is that your personalities are not defined. The way you interact with people are not defined. Your age is not defined. And also, not only that, you don't have a particular set of morals, okay? Think about that, okay? There's nothing specific that the male character or the male player character did that, or they don't say exactly what he did in the army. And the same thing with the female player character, your spouse, either way. It doesn't say what her motives were for going to law school, okay? The thing is that people, you know, try to make this seem like it's worse than it is. I mean, I just don't understand it, because I have two wacky playthroughs actually right now, and if this game wasn't a role-playing game, I don't think I'd be able to play that way. Okay, I don't think I would be able to have two. One actually is a superhero, Silver Shroud, made him on the Xbox, and Nuka Girl. And Nuka Girl's a cannibal, and she's an alcoholic drug addict who relies on drugs to fight, and likes munching on some ghoul and mutant corpses, and a bit of the human here and there. A bit of a severely morally gray superhero. I wouldn't be able to play that type of character. And the thing with this, I just, you know, kind of boggles me, is I think the people who say this don't know how to roleplay. In my own opinion. You have perks that can flesh out a particular build. If you want to be good at electronics and fucking with robots, because you could hack robots to serve you or self-destruct, you could do that. There are perks for it. So I don't know how this is not a role-playing game. Okay, and the same thing, you know, oh, well, you're married too. How did your spouse meet? What was the intention with the marriage? Was it to get pussy? Was it to get dick? Was it to... was it because you were forced by her parents to marry? Or did they know each other, and then after the service, or during your male character service, if you're playing the male. Or if you're playing the female, you met him at a bar somewhere, whatever the fucking case may be. And then you, and even at that, you can even say or argue that your husband or wife was abusive. There are actually bruise markings you can put on your character when you're in the character creation screen. So I just don't understand that aspect. So, I mean, I guess, you know, that just boils down to this is not your type of RPG. And that's fine. You know, if you didn't like that, that is totally fine. I'm not saying it's not. But to say it's not an RPG is a bit of a stretch. I mean, it'd be like saying New Vegas isn't an RPG because later on in one of the DLCs, it explains your character has a backstory. As much as I don't like that in New Vegas, I'm not going to sit here and say that New Vegas is worse for having that. Both of these games have it. Almost all of them have, like, a fucking occupation for you to build the background off of, and it's all imagination. That's what role-playing's all about, essentially. Let's move on, sorry. You know what? I like the perks. I like the new perk system. I also like the skill system, too, from New Vegas and 3. But I also like the perk system. I think all these games were trying to do different things, except for, you know, the skill point thing was in New Vegas and stuff like that. And I'm not comparing the games. I'm just saying these games had a different way of portraying how you spend your points to become more powerful or whatever the case may be good in a particular area. You could do that in 4. It's just done with perks. And the best part about Fallout 4 is that you can sculpt out a particular build and completely limit yourself from pretty much everything. If you suck at hacking, well, guess what? If you don't want to explore around the building for as long as you are to find a key to open a door, you're going to miss out on some content. I like playing that way personally, so that gives me a reason to make another character instead of doing everything all at once, which is another blessing I'll throw in here with this, is that you're able to do what the fuck you want. You want to go slaughter settlements and not help Preston Garvey or any of the other characters at all? You could do that. You want to betray a faction that you can join? You could do that. And the perks, you know, kind of establish what your character is going to be out in the world. You know, if they're good with rifles, you can even have, like, the male character's occupation describe, well, how did he get rifle training? And you could do the same thing with the female character. You could say that she was taught by her father or mother or brother, or some family member or friend, that she learned to shoot rifles from them. And that those are the only guns that she preferred to shoot, because those are the only guns she knows. Same thing with the male character. Was, you know, taught in the army how to shoot a rifle, whether that be laser or just a standard bullet rifle. And then those are the only rifles that they prefer, so you invest in those types of fields. So, anywho, let's move on. Oh, yeah, before we do, also the skill points when you create your character to put in your special stats actually have been reduced, which is really nice. So it kind of makes it easier to focus on a couple of areas instead of sacrificing points in one other area. That was a bit of annoying, actually. So you just have like one stat in each instead of 5. I mean, if you specialize in strength, like 10s in strength and 10s in charisma, those are the areas you're going to focus on, essentially. You know, you can actually make the character lucky, you know, oh, well, you know, he's on the wasteland, and you could do a bunch of things. You can, you know, say, well, you know, he survived a bunch, so I'll put some points into luck just for that. Whatever you want to do. However you want to build your character, you can make a wacky as fuck character in this game. All in all, it's your decision to play the game or not. I want to know what you guys actually think down in the comments below about what you thought, whether you liked it or didn't. Just don't please insult people that disagree with you. It's just simply a disagreement like you're doing with me. You know, this game, I'm not saying it's perfect. I am not saying Fallout 4 is a perfect game, but goddamn, I love this fucking game. This is one of my favorite Fallout games. It's right under New Vegas, for me at least, in my personal Fallout list, because I haven't had much experience with Fallout 3. I just have a hard time getting into that one. I love the game. I honestly got into role-playing a couple years ago, trying it out with this game, and you can fucking do it. And, you know, another thing I'm going to throw in at the end here is that people also complained about the voice protagonist. Yeah, the dialogue options were kind of shitty. They were very vague, and there were only 4 options as to, you know, the multitude of options that were in the previous games for dialogue. And I could understand that complaint. I just, you know, don't see the problem with the voice acting. I mean, the characters' voices sounded very vague. You know, you could play any skin color character you want, and the voice wouldn't affect that. I just don't understand. And yes, you know, the vague dialogue options, you may say something you didn't think your character would say, which can be pretty immersion breaking. And that's pretty much the only complaint, because for me, the most part of that is if I selected a sarcastic option for like a humorous moment in the game for the character, they usually say something in under those lines. I don't know, I just didn't have a big problem with it, because I'm a veteran of the game, and so I technically know what's going to come out of the character's mouth, you know? But yes, I could see the complaint. 4 dialogue options, you can't fucking read what the hell you're going to say without mods, unfortunately. But yeah, that's what I thought of the game. I fucking love it, and I recommend it. I would say give it a shot, actually, as I say normally, give it a shot. Not for you, that's perfectly fine. That is me, Sacred G, signing off. I'm probably gonna throw in some more stuff that I might have forgotten to talk about. Yeah, so I hope you guys are doing pretty well. I'll see you in the next video. Peace the fuck out, bye.